Welcome to our Mind the Bridge Innovation Center in sunny Barcelona. I'm delighted to have you with us today, and thanks for joining our online event. I'm Marwan Abdallawi, Innovation Director at Mind the Bridge. Before moving into the details of the event, just wanted to show you a bit our Innovation Center in Barcelona that we just launched actually this year. So actually you can see our folks here working and ending the day of today actually. We were supposed to do the online event, a physical event today, but we moved that to February 24th. But my colleague Francesca Cavanna will take it from there, and let's hear more from her.
Hello everyone, and thanks Manon for the intro. My name is Francesca Cavanna. I'm team lead here for the advisory service here in Barcelona. Yeah, as you know, we were supposed to meet today in person. Unfortunately, the current situation changed a bit the plan, but thanks, we have a new date. It's going to be on February 24th, same hour at 6 p.m., same place, here at our Innovation Center in Barcelona. The speakers are like amazing, and they cannot wait to share with us which will be the innovation trend for this year. So today we are supposed to have just a little preview. After me, there will be Alberto Onetti, chairman of Mind the Bridge, that will introduce just a little bit, just to keep you warm. And yeah, we prepared this QR code so that you can directly go to the Eventbrite page and connect for the event. Please remember to register in order to come to our physical event that is going to be at the end of February. Just a few words about Mind the Bridge before passing the word to Alberto. We are an innovation advisory company. We were born in 2007 in San Francisco, where we have our headquarters. And yeah, after that, we have office now in Spain, in UK, in Italy, and then in Middle East and South Korea. And what we do is providing innovation advisory services to corporate, government agency, and startup. So I would say, let's take it from here. Alberto, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Marwan. And welcome to our digital inauguration of our Mind the Bridge Innovation Center in Barcelona. Sounds a bit funny to have a digital inauguration. Actually, the plan to have a physical one, but still, we decided that given the current uncertain situation with the pandemic, was the best decision was just to slightly postpone. And so as you've seen, we will reconvene physically in Barcelona on February 24, taking advantage of an even better weather. So I think at least two reasons to come, not just one. And so going back to the today event, so the goal is just to, as Francesca said, to warm you up. We just published the beginning of the year a new report that we publish every year called Open Innovation Outlook. The goal of this report is just to provide a sort of sentiment on what is about to happen in the open innovation arena. And the source of this report is typically our Corporate Startup Stars award celebration that we typically held in the month of December. So in the month of December, we invite the top 50 international companies that have been awarded among the Corporate Startup Stars. And before the gala dinner, we typically run a closed-door bootcamp. We have the opportunity to share with them our data, our views, and most importantly, also to listen from there. And particularly, we ask them some questions. And I am going to just give you the headlines of some of the answers they provided. The most important question, if you're working in the innovation advisory, is, okay, what about the budget for innovation for next year? And so we asked this specific question. and we got some honest answer. And the news that come out is very, very positive, that the innovation budget in 2022 are going up compared to 2021. And then you can see almost 43% of them are planning to increase the innovation budget. 50% will maintain the budget as last year, and only 7% are planning to decrease. And it is, you can find the same number for last year, so you can see that the trend is definitely up. Next question we asked them is, as you know, open innovation is not a single line of action, is not a single initiative, is not a single tool. There are multiple tools, multiple initiatives, multiple models that need to be run at the same time. And particularly corporate, multinational corporate innovation leaders should have to run startup scouting. They might run entrepreneurship program for promoting entrepreneurial attitude and trying to extract some deal flow from their own employees. May have a corporate accelerators. They might have a venture builder - a startup studio. They might implement a venture client model, meaning looking for startups to initiate partnerships. They might have an investment arm, corporate venture capital, or off-balance entity. And at the end, they can also trigger the M&A play. And then you can see we asked them which initiatives are about to be pursued in the incoming 2022 for this year compared to last year. And you might see there are certain things that remain pretty stable and strong, namely startup scouting. 100% of the innovation leaders are planning to do so. The venture client is the most dominant model that is definitely producing more results and even going even more widespread, reaching 90% of our sample. Corporate venture capital is still very, very relevant. Again, we are closing between 80 and 90% of the respondents say that they have in such initiative they're planning to maintain. Looking at the initiative are pretty wide. They were widespread, are going down. One as corporate accelerators. As you might know, corporate accelerators substantially failed to produce results, at least on the corporate side. And so more corporates are downsizing or even shutting down their programs. While on the other hand, venture builders are on the rise. You can see that the number of companies that are actually implementing or just launched or planning to implement a venture builder are growing significantly. We have 50% of them last year. Currently, we are close to 80%. There's a big, big jump. M&A remains a sort of eventual activity that happens when the condition arises. It's not probably a structured strategy. It's mostly something that might happen or might not. Next. We asked them where the problems, where the barriers might be, talking about corporate startup collaboration. We use this model and specifically we see what kind of barriers typically corporate do face. There are external barriers, so something that is becoming from the overall external condition. For example, the current economic climate, the political uncertainty, regulation, legislation, or we had also something regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you can see, there are no particular big concern on this area. The only part that some corporates signal as concerning is particularly on the legislation and regulation side. But COVID is not supposed to impact, as well as the overall economic climate is not supposed to freeze the open innovation activities of our innovation leaders. Actually, if they see some obstacle, those obstacles are mostly internal. And you can see typically there are obstacles on the strategic side, particularly the misalignment between strategies and goals, misconception in terms of what startups are. Again, on this side, I think the innovation leaders do not identify particular concerns. On the cultural side, on the other hand, they perceive a strong corporate culture of risk aversion. While on the other hand, there's been a certain improvement in terms of the diffusion of the internal entrepreneurial culture, also thanks to programs like entrepreneurship that definitely reduce this kind of barriers. In terms of organization, the problem is not the lack of startups or access to high quality startups. Scouting activities might provide that. Mostly is the lack of internal resources. One thing that we have noticed is that also large organization and innovation leaders are in a certain way very, very tiny open innovation unit. And this tiny open innovation unit, the more successful, the more they tend to exhaust their bandwidth and then have problem in promoting the startups internally and turning the startups and the pilots in full deployment. Again, they don't have the energy and the bandwidth to move forward. And on the other hand, one big topic that always been, particularly for the corporates, the involvement of the business unit, at least for this sample, that again, let me repeat, is the sample of innovation leaders, a company that are very, very far ahead on the innovation journey. So let's say there's some trend that for other, probably for the followers, is something that's supposed to happen a bit down the way. They found a way to involve better the business unit. Another problem that has been signaled is the rigid internal processes, meaning sometimes the internal procedures, I'm talking about legal, I'm talking about procurement, might create some obstacles. Super relevant is the top-level buy-in. If there is top-level buy-in from the CEO and the board, open innovation will work. If there is not such a commitment, nothing will happen. There are no issues on the intellectual property issues that is sometimes, particularly in the literature, is identified as a big problem. Final question we ask our innovation leaders. Next. Is, okay, you are scouting where? Where are you hunting for innovation? Where are you hunting for startups and scale-ups? And again, all of them, they are hunting in their own country. Again, is easy, so there is not a big topic. But again, going outside their own country, there are two regions that are in a certain way covered by almost everybody. And we're talking about Silicon Valley, and we're talking about Israel. So 90% have active scouting activities in Silicon Valley and Israel, and the missing 10% are planning to do it. Europe does follow. China as well. The rest of US is relevant, but not like Silicon Valley. Again, I'm talking there are a lot of emerging ecosystem. LA and Greater California is interesting. Seattle, Chicago, Texas, Boston, Cambridge. Again, these are some emerging areas that are coming out. Still, they don't have the level of density or concentration that you can find in Silicon Valley. And then among the emerging region, you can see Latin America is still covered by less than 50%. Same applies to India. And then if you go move downward, there is also Middle East and Africa. Among the emerging ecosystem, meaning that ecosystem that are becoming relevant compared to last year, we see on the one hand South Korea, Seoul, and on the other hand Dubai, and as another important hotspot in the region. So this is the main region where scouting activities are focused. So just to give you some highlights of the latest report we published, we'll definitely discuss more on February 24, when we'll provide also some more data in terms of what we see happening in the open innovation arena, what are the most relevant trends. But again, just to give you a small bite, that was some data we wanted to share with you today. But again, also for February 24, the real goal is not just to present our data, but to discuss our data with some of these innovation leaders. And I'm happy to show you which will be the innovation managers that will be with us in Barcelona on February 24. I'm talking about Telmo Perez, that is a long-term friend, that is the Chief Innovation and New Business at ACCIONA. We have Joan Pallares, that is the Global Head of Transformation at MAPFRE. We have Fernando Sandoval, that is Manager of Innovation Hub Europe for Enel. We have two Fernandos, Fernando Guillot Gimeno, that is Director of the Venture Studio at Telefonica, and Fernando Impuesto Nogueras, that is the General Manager of Enagas Emprende. Wonderful. And so, since we were supposed to meet in Barcelona, I asked them to grab 20 minutes just to show their faces and to warm up the discussion we will have in presence. Drinks will follow, guys, when we'll be in Barcelona. Don't worry. So everything is set up. But in order to get there, I think the title of our rendezvous in Barcelona is what's hot and what is not hot in open innovation. And so just to prepare the discussion, I would like to have a quick roundtable with you and ask you, first of all, just to briefly introduce yourself and specifically tell us super briefly, like a tweet, what you think is becoming hot in open innovation and what you believe is not that hot anymore. Who's going to start? Telmo.
Okay. Well, first of all, well, congratulations to the whole Mind the Bridge family. It's great news that you are now opening this office in Barcelona. Not only great for Spanish companies, but also for the whole ecosystem, especially in Southern Europe, given also your footprint. And well, it's great to speak with you again, Alberto. I hope to see you very, very soon. I'm willing for that. And also to my colleagues here in the panel. Hi, everyone. I'm really glad to see you and that seeing that every of you is safe and hopefully your families and teams as well. Well, very briefly in terms of corporate venturing or open innovation mechanisms, in my opinion, I hope and probably is going to be more and more relevant the topic of M&A and acquisitions, and not only, let's tell, startups buying startups or corporate buying startups, which is happening more and more. And for example, in our case, that we are a quite brick and mortar company, we have acquired 3 in the last year, we could say, more or less, which is quite outstanding, even surprising for me, even in charge of innovation. But also more and more we will see even startups acquiring corporates or more than corporates, traditional companies is something that we could see not only from Amazon to Whole Foods, but in logistics, in fintech. And I think it will happen. It will be definitely a hot topic and I'm eager to speak about it on the 24th of February with all of you.
That's a super cool topic, by the way, and I think it's very interesting data that is consistent with some research that we ran a couple of years ago, trying to see what were the most acquisitive companies in the world. And beyond Silicon Valley, again, Google buy a startup a week. And so that is unfair for European standard. And by the way, congratulations, acquiring 3 companies in a year for European standard is a lot. And so congratulations. But one thing that we noticed that in the list of the top acquired startups beyond the Silicon Valley companies, there were new economy companies, new economy tech giants coming out that they raise a lot of money and they use this money to acquire other startups and to grow faster and faster. While traditional incumbent typically has not such an attitude. Perfect. Joan, it's your turn to introduce.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Mind the Bridge, for inviting MAPFRE to this wonderful event. Now postponed, but it will be wonderful next month in February in Barcelona. I'm actually from Barcelona, so I'm very happy that you're opening an office there and that we'll have the chance to be there physically and have an event with all the peers there. So I obviously I agree with all the trends that you displayed on the report and also with the M&A trends. We as an insurance company, we deal with the insurtech area and we are catching up with other markets and verticals that are more mature, like the fintech one. So definitely we'll see more M&A operations in the coming maybe 18, 24 months and so on. And as you said, not only from corporations to startups, trying to strengthen our internal capabilities, but also among startups. Even some of our startups, the ones we have investments in, are engaging in this type of practices. I would say that one of the things that we'll see more and more is companies like ourselves trying to move from one of those practices, the old school ones, to new ones. So as we moved from corporate accelerators to venture clients, and as we moved from third-party venture capital funds to our own investments, which is super scary, especially for a company like MAPFRE. We deal with, asset management, big operations, private equity. So doing seed capital or growth capital is super scary for us. So this is like, we need to face our fears and to do the final jump into these new areas. And it will happen the same, transitioning from venture client models to more venture building. And that will mean that our investments will be no longer someone happening somewhere else and with our small money, small participation, but on the contrary, taking them very close and trying to make them grow very fast. So we make also a huge leap as well. So I would say that the transition from old models to the newer ones will reach traditional and, let's say, more old-fashioned companies like insurance companies.
No, that's a great point. And by the way, we are noticing that. And by the way, the fact that we are moving from tools to another tools is also a pretty clear signal of an innovation that is happening in the open innovation industry. That, by the way, is probably 5 to 10 years old. And again, while corporate accelerators, incubators were the old-fashioned standards up to 2015, 2016, 2017, now we are seeing that these instruments have been in a certain way restructured and moved to different areas. And it's interesting also for the so-called late movers, the fact that they definitely can fast track and they don't need to redo all the old-fashioned cycle, but they can definitely jump to the most effective and emerging tools since day one, at least, or day two. But it's interesting data point. Fernando.
Hello, Alberto. Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for the invitation, and congratulations as well for the new Innovation Center in Barcelona. Really looking forward to seeing you there, to visit it, and of course, to be with all of you in the same place. I mean, digital events are great, but we really miss being together in the same place and be able to interact and to do networking as in all.
It's the part of the digital dreams that is the part not getting, but still.
So regarding trends, we see that, of course, open innovation models are consolidated already in the industry. So there are more and more corporates coming into open innovation. And this is good for all of us. This is good for the ecosystem. And we see that it's something that is going to happen more and more. We also see that, of course, as you said, there is no one specific model. We are more into venture client. That is our main approach to the startups.
You're one of the masters of this model, I have to say.
Yes, we've been working a lot on it, and for many years, more than 5 years already. And what we think is that even though that is our main approach, there is not perfect model, of course, and there are many ways to approach startups and open innovation, and it depends on the needs and on the culture of each corporate. So not a specific model, as you already mentioned, but yes, we think there's going to be a consolidation as well in venture client. We see it is what we like of venture client is that is an approach that targets 100% the business needs of the corporate. So you have a focus on innovation per se, and of course we have seen that other open innovation models are bringing this philosophy in what they do. You were mentioning that corporate accelerators are not a trend anymore, but in recent years, so for instance, regarding corporate accelerators, they were merging to this philosophy of targeting business needs. So this is something that we think is going to happen to all models, because at the end, that's what innovation, open innovation is for, is to target those core needs of the business.
Very good, very good. Yes, it's a good point. Yes, actually, trying to identify one trend that we are witnessing is that as more the open innovation arena is evolving and maturing, there is more attention to the results. While 5 years ago it was mostly marketing communication, we are innovative, that's it. Now I think there is definitely more attention to KPIs, to result produce, and at a certain point also impact on the P&L. Because I remember my discussion with the head of Cemex Venture, that is of France, and he said, yes, we are looking long term, but we know that at a certain point the day of the judgment will come and we need to show results. And then this is something that will happen sooner or later, and probably today is more sooner rather than later. So, Fernando, your turn.
Yes, thank you, guys. Thank you. Sorry, I was a little bit late today, but thank goodness that we changed this for further up the road, because I'm actually positive in COVID today. So it's been good that this event wasn't now. Regarding to trends, I was listening to you now when you were talking about results and these KPIs and becoming an OIBDA zero or positive, and that is something that we are actually seeing today in Telefonica. So we are changing the model of, okay, yes, we've been here for 10 years already, investing in a lot of startups, and now is the moment when we have to change the trend, and that is actually occurring now. So that you were talking about that, and I was smiling, because it's actually something that has occurred in Telefonica, and we will see it, that we are, I'm not going to say turning into a fund, because it's not exactly that, but or a VC, but KPIs, OKRs, and changing and converting into something that will change the impact of the P&L is something that we are seeing already. And then you're talking about trends in open innovation space, but I actually have a team of we call them new trends, and they're actually looking into the market of what we want to see in the market, and what's happening in certain markets that we're not seeing, and there's something, maybe not the time to talk about all these things, but something that is changing how we all work, and it's all this metaverse that is coming. That's something that will be a trend clearly next year, and we'll have to learn how to work in that space, apart from investing in that space. So
Yes, agreed. Metaverse is part of all the discussion we are having. This morning I was having a discussion with the Chief Innovation Officer at Tech Mahindra, and again, beyond being also COVID positive, I say that in India is becoming the booster, becoming positive. And so unfortunately, this is a condition that is more and more widespread. Hopefully that you will be recover super soon. And it's not.
It's I'm fine. So it's yesterday was a bit worse, but today as if I didn't have anything.
Good to know. And beyond that, metaverse was one of the most largest trend that has been highlighted. And by the way, the Telefonica experience I think is super interesting for two main reasons. Number one, because probably you are one of the early movers in the open innovation industry. Again, Wire has been the mothership that in a certain way have paved the way for many others to follow, and also the evolution of the accelerators, the way you restructure Wire is super relevant also as a way of evolving. An instrument has been a lot of success, but actually needed to be updated. And then one thing will be discussed in a month in Barcelona is the part that you're leading, that is the venture builder part, that is a pretty fresh one. And again, Telefonica again is ahead of the game with an experience that is super interesting to deep dive. And talking about venture builder, I think we have another experience that we believe, and another business case that we believe is super interesting since a while. And then I have to say that our friend at Enagas has been an early mover, also thanks to their CEO, that is Marcelino Reya, that has been a visionary leader. And so they have launched an entrepreneurship program with a venture builder on the top. I think it's, Emilio, correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about more than 5 years ago, something like that. Exactly, yeah. And it's an experience that is super interesting, because again, you have been able to produce spin-offing companies out of your entrepreneurship program, company originated by employees. Some of them also reach some interesting outcomes. So you are definitely an experience that I personally consider as a benchmark. So we have today Emilio Martinez, and then we'll have your colleague Fernando Impuesto in Barcelona in a month. Emilio, welcome.
Thank you so much, Alberto, for the invitation. As you mentioned, it was supposed to be here Fernando Impuesto, the general manager of Enagas Emprende. He will be physically in Barcelona. And as you mentioned, we started our program regarding open innovation, corporate venturing, especially giving the opportunity to our employees to become real entrepreneurs. And so we launched an entrepreneurship program that we have now 8 companies, 8 startups, 8 spin-offs led by our employees and with our support, basically. And we are quite proud of our results. You talk and you ask to the rest of the colleagues of the table some hotspot in 2022 regarding corporate venturing. And one of the most important things I think is happening in corporate venturing is that it's becoming itself a new industry. So 5-6 years ago, it was something quite attractive or quite new. What do you do? You work in a corporate with the startups. Oh, this is cool. You talk and you work with people with genes. Now this is not this culture and fashion anymore. This is about business. It's about innovation. This is about transforming the companies. What we do is a new industry. It's a new function that is going to last. What we do is not M&A. What we do is not research and development. What we do is not business development. What we do is corporate venturing. And I think you from Mind the Bridge have been studying this new industry for several years, and there are more and more corporates that are joining and that are also launching new programs. And I think a hot spot is that there are more and more corporates launching the kind of programs, and the corporates are working with several tools with the startups. So this is something that I think is going to last for several years because there is not an alternative. We, the corporates, are very well prepared and organized to execute very efficiently our business models. And when we talk about exploring, about new markets, new technologies, new business models, the startups and the way they work are really unbeatable. So another hotspot of this 2022, I think, is a consequence of all this COVID crisis. Is going to be a huge increase among collaboration between corporations with the startups. And now I think the open innovation regarding how several agents we can work with us in order to develop the same product or working with the startup is going to last also. So my committee, as you mentioned, led by our CEO Marcelino Oreja, one partner for any projects, and actually is easier than ever. And something very interesting, especially in our sector regarding energy transition, 3, 4, 5 years ago, only the people in one sector was eager to support a startup in that sector. Now, the cross-sector collaboration is better than ever. Now, people from the financial sector can support energy startups. People from the InsurTech can also help energy startups, the family offices, the banks. So this is a movement very interesting that I think is going to last. Now, for us, the corporate venture professionals, is not only a problem of deal flow; it's also a problem of joining the best partners and choosing the best partners to work with the startups. Definitely, I think is a trend. You also asked us, Alberto, what things are not working anymore regarding corporates. The analysis, the corporate collaboration between corporates and startups, the analysis you showed before, I think is quite clear. The accelerators understood as a program that you put in the same kind of support several startups, I think is old-fashioned. Each startup, each entrepreneur, each project is different, and the support we may give or we may provide the startup should also be different. That's why most of the corporates are developing several tools to work with the startups with the idea of giving them what they really know. If one startup, they just want you to do a pilot, let's do a pilot. What's the point of having 12 months accelerating a company, a startup, what they really only want a 2 months pilot? I think this is the tailor-made approach is the future.
Yeah, that is a good point, and that's something, by the way, we are experiencing also in our programs. For in Silicon Valley, we have a long-term program for startup that started as an accelerators, and now it's turned into a program that is definitely tailored one by one, and they need to get customized support. So that just was for warming up the discussion. I see that we have a lot of on our plate for February 24, and so I'm really looking forward to welcoming you in our brand new innovation center in Barcelona. I'm really looking forward to our discussion. Thank you for being with us today and for sharing this warm-up. For the people that will join us in Barcelona on the 24th, this is the QR code that you just need to scan also through your computer. You can get immediately access to the Eventbrite for register. And that said, thank you guys for being with us, and see you in sunny Barcelona in a month. Thank you.
See you.
Thank you so much, Alberto.